mention is that this morning's call is going to be recorded. And secondly, we're going to wait till the end of the call for Q&A. So please remember to write your questions down along the way so that you'll remember what you wanted to ask. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce Joe Stainsby, OmniRide's Chief Development Officer.
Thank you, Holly. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Hispanic Council Meeting. I think this is our third or fourth one of these. This is a very important leg of our three-legged stool of mobility councils that we have, our employer, our Hispanic, and also our van pool council. These are all part of OmniRide's wider efforts to engage more with the community, to solicit feedback on our services, what we're doing now, what we're going to be doing in the future, and other things that are going on within our service area that impact people in these different communities. So I thank you all for participating. It's worth mentioning that you will oftentimes with these councils, you will get out what you put in. So we encourage you guys to participate where you can. I thank you all for taking time on this morning to join us, and I'll hand it back to Holly.
Thank you, Joe. I also want to make everyone aware that we have Spanish translation services available for this morning's meeting as part of our efforts to expand and improve our reach within the community. Questions can be typed into the chat in Spanish, and our translator will ask the panel the question and respond back in Spanish. And with that, I'm going to turn the virtual mic over to Carla Quinteros from ECU Communications so she can provide a translation of the comments that I just made.
Buenos días y bienvenidos a todos a la reunión del Consejo Hispano de OmniRide. Estamos contentos de que puedan estar con nosotros. Lo primero que quiero dejarles saber también es que la reunión de ahora está siendo grabada. Y si alguien necesita los servicios de interpretación, yo con mucho gusto les puedo ayudar en el área del chat. Preguntas y respuestas se irán al final del día. Mi nombre es Carla Quinteros.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Carla. Much appreciated. And I'm going to go ahead and kick things off this morning. I am the first presenter, and going to be speaking this morning about OmniRide's rideshare program. And I'll start off, since I've already introduced myself, by just saying that transportation demand management is the science of getting cars off the road. And transportation is a form of TDM. So I promote bus, rail, metro, as well as TDM measures such as carpooling, van pooling, biking, transportation subsidies, and alternative work schedules to the residents and employers in Prince William County. And I do this primarily through the rideshare and the employer outreach programs that I manage. Next slide, please. This morning, we're going to focus on the OmniRide ride sharing program. And this program is called OmniMatch, and it's a free service for the residents of Prince William County. And you can request through the Commuter Connections website or go to the OmniRide website and fill out a match request form. And most of our applicants are commuters who no longer enjoy driving alone. Next slide. The OmniMatch application can be found on the OmniRide website under the ride sharing tab. And this is what that page looks like on our website. Next slide. The application asks for your home address, your work address, as well as your work hours. And this information allows us to match each applicant with other commuters that live near them, work near them, and have similar work hours. Next slide. And then we provide each applicant with a personalized itinerary that includes a list of carpool and van pool prospects, as well as detailed information regarding all of their transportation options to include bus, rail, and metro. And I also wanted to mention we have a great customer service team that can assist those that may need extra help locating a bus stop on the origin or destination end of a commute. And we have Hispanic translation services available for our customers who don't speak English. Next slide. There are a couple more items on the ride sharing page on our website that I wanted to mention. Next slide. There are close to 20 commuter lots in Prince William County, and you'll find information on our website for each commuter lot to include lot location, parking capacity, and the bus routes that serve each lot. Next slide. Slugging, otherwise referred to as casual carpooling, took a hit this past year, just like all forms of transportation did. And we've had the opportunity, though, to witness the beginnings of a return to slugging at some recent outreach that we've done at nearby commuter lots for the new service change that took effect in early June. Find information about how slugging works, along with links to 2 different websites that will provide you with more information about slug lines and which commuter lots host the slug line that you're interested in. Next slide. And then finally, the OmniRide Councils page. This is actually not under the ride sharing tab, but rather under the About OmniRide tab. And information about all of our councils can be found here, along with links to event invitations, recordings, and presentations. And we'll make sure to have the recording from this morning's meeting along with all of the presentations up there by close of business tomorrow. Next slide. And thanks very much. I'm going to turn things over to Susan Shaw now. She is the Mega Projects Director and Design Build Program Manager at VDOT. And give me just a second to share my screen, get her presentation up here.
Good morning. So nice to be here with all of you. I'm going to give a brief overview of our construction and construction progress for the group this morning. And I would just note the slides have a lot of information on them. I'm not going to review all of that information. I'm going to do it at more of a high level, but I still think it's important information, and I'm certainly available to answer any questions, or if you want to, get more information, just let me know. And so on the next slide, you can see what we are building, which is basically 2 express lanes in each direction from Route 29 in Gainesville all the way to the Capitol Beltway I-495. When the lanes are open, it will be similar to the rules that we have on our other express lanes network, which is HOV3, and buses will travel for free. If you're non-HOV, you will be tolled, and the tolls will rise and fall based on congestion. In addition to those 2 express lanes, we'll have 3 regular lanes in each direction with no tolls. And we are making improvements to the general purpose lane system as part of the project. There's many places where we're adding auxiliary lanes between interchanges to make safety interchange and operational improvements. And along with the toll lanes, when they are the express lanes, when they open, there will be new and improved high frequency, fast and reliable bus service during extended peak periods. We do have park and ride facilities. We have a number of transportation demand management strategies in the corridor during construction. And then we also will have bicycle and trail improvements. On the next slide, you can just see the overall arrangement for this project. It is a public-private partnership. I-66 Express Mobility Partners, who goes by EMP, is VDOT's partner. I believe we may have Chris Doherty on today representing that group. The total project is $2.3 billion for the project itself. There was another $850 million over the 50-year life of the contract to support transit. And then an additional $500 million was also provided for transportation needs that benefit the I-66 corridor. This just shows our project timeline of where we are today. We did reach a major milestone in November of moving the traffic signals off of the Route 28 corridor. And then we also have a milestone coming up today, which is to shift traffic, complete shifting traffic in the far western segment of the corridor. And Holly, I
am sorry, Susan. I don't know what it's doing.
I can tell you what it's doing, but I don't know how to tell you to fix it. It automatically advances, and I'm really apologize. I'll have to remind my team to make sure. Somebody did a presentation once that did that, and they keep copying it, and so it is not you. It is not you. It is us. But now moving on to the universe, I thought you were sending me a clue to hurry up, but
No, you've got plenty of time. But
yes,
okay, on this, the timeline slide, you want to
yes.
now?
And
Okay.
so, yes, we are working towards opening the express lanes at the end of next year in December. So what is being built with our park and ride lots? You can see on the next slide, the University Boulevard Park and Ride lot. We had an early opening of that lot. And you can see there, it was getting some good use there pre-COVID with bus service running out of that lot. Of course, it did tail off significantly there during the pandemic, but we're starting to see that come back. And in the lower right, there's a graphic that shows that University Boulevard, as it crosses 66, there are new ramps that are currently under construction, and they will have direct access. On the next slide, just a little bit more detail on that. That's an aerial photo that was taken recently. You can see those ramps in the lower right-hand side there are coming up out of the ground. So there will be direct bus access in and out of that park and ride lot to the express lanes. Another place where we're building a park and ride lot on the next slide is 1,300 commuter spaces at the Ballsford Road Park and Ride lot. That will also have direct access to the express lanes. And on the next slide, you can just see that lot under construction. This is lagging a bit and not open. It is planned to open in 2022. And you can see there where 66 kind of is running. West is to the right and east direction is to the left. The bridge that will form the part of that ramp and connection, and then you'll be able to go to the east and come from the west to access that lot. And you can see there's a bus loop, and there's also areas for car and van pooling as well. The next slide just has a graphic for where you can enter the express lanes. And I think as we move towards opening, especially for bus service and transit, services, it's important to note where those access points are. They're not at every interchange. And so I'm not going to walk through this slide, but I think this is really important information for transit providers to review as they plan their routes. On some other construction activities in the corridor, moving to the east, I'll just talk a little bit about Route 29 in Centerville. That's a major construction piece that's shown on the next slide. And you can see there we've built brand new bridges, and that's Route 66 bridges over Route 29, but we've opened them up. They used to be right next to each other, and there was no room to provide future transit in the median. And with this project, now there will be room in the median for future transit. But a lot of activity around this corridor, we still are wide. We've built the main bridges, but there still is some additional width that needs to be provided. And we are looking to have more beam installations. These generally occur overnight, but they do usually require some detour and one-way traffic with the flagging operation. On the next slide, you can see the Route 28 interchange. This is looking south, and Route 28 is running up and down the photograph, and 66 to the west is pointing to the right, and to the east to DC is pointing to the left. In the foreground, you can see a new bridge at Braddock Walney. This is a very complex interchange, and it's complex in terms of access, new traffic patterns, and it's also been complex in terms of how we stage the traffic. If you use this interchange, I would just say plan ahead and be extremely alert. There may be a new traffic pattern since you last drove it. We just made a major shift this weekend. There's a number of detours in place, and we have plenty of information available on our website for if you need more information on that. At Stringfellow Road, which is the next access point, and the next area where we are near a park and ride lot. You can see the Stringfellow Park and Ride lot in the lower right-hand corner there. And here, currently, there's a ramp in the middle of 66 that's been converted. It is now two-way, 24/7 at the bottom of that ramp, but it's very narrow. And that ramp is being expanded, so it will be 2 lanes in each direction. It's also going to be opened up similar to the Route 29 interchange so that there's room in the future for future transit, which in Fairfax County's transportation plan, they are planning for a future metro extension at some point in the future. We have a number of activities coming up, including some demolition work and pile driving as we continue to expand the structures in that area. The access here will be to and from the east. So on the main line, you'll just see that we are working to shift traffic to the outside. We've mostly been doing all that construction on the outside and kind of squeezed everyone towards the middle of the corridor. And this summer and into the fall, we're going to be working to shift all of that traffic to the outside, push everybody out as far as we can to then have room to construct in the middle. And so I would just say, again, be vigilant when you're driving out there. We'll continue to see those shifts. The one good thing I will say is when we do shift, the pavement is in much better condition because it's brand new, not in its final configuration. And we're still, have limited shoulders and things like that that you would expect in a construction zone, but it should be a better pavement once we make those shifts. At the Route 50 interchange, this is also a pretty complex interchange. We just made a major shift to a new bridge over the weekend, and we have some other upcoming shifts later in July. And once you can see the new wider concrete bridge decks, they're a whiter in color and they are wider. But that's where we're shifting traffic to as those are completed and the approach network is done. And once completed, then we tear down the old bridges. And, these are bridges over 66. They weren't long enough to accommodate the future widened lanes. And this is also giving us some opportunity to make some improvements in the Route 50 interchange. We had some very narrow exit ramps that were really constrained. And so we'll be able to address that with this construction. At the Route 123 interchange, this location will have access, full express lanes access in the at the 123 bridge. It'll be a signalized access point, and it will be to and from the east and west. So you'll be able to access the express lanes in all directions at this location. So that's an important location in the corridor in terms of express lanes access. And again, you can see new bridge construction. This interchange had a number of loop ramps. Those are being reconfigured to be a diamond type interchange, signalized, and then we'll have the signalized intersection in the center for the express lanes. Coming up next is the Vaden Drive Bridge. This is now open to traffic. We did close it completely during the pandemic to get this work done in a single phase. It was work that was directly over the orange line. So it was important to be able to do it when there was little traffic. We also took advantage of the orange line shutdown from last summer. So we do have the bridge was open to traffic November 24th. There is a shared use path on the east side of the bridge that's open, or a shared use path that's open now on the west side. And then there's another shared use path that will be opening on the east side, it opened in December of 2020, but there still is a sidewalk on the west side of the bridge that will be opening later this fall. So we still are working on some pedestrian movements. Now here, you can also see there will be a ramp coming from the express lanes up to Vaden Drive Bridge to and from the west. And this will allow buses to access the metro, the Vienna metro station here. And you can see those piers kind of coming up in the middle of 66 just outside of the Orange Line tail tracks. Gallows Road Bridge, also some significant construction, no access to 66, but the bridge is being completely reconstructed to make room again for those additional lanes of 66. You can see a portion of the new bridge. That's about half of the new bridge. We are planning to shift traffic to that in July to the new bridge, and then we will tear down the old bridge and build the second half of the Gallows Road Bridge. So significant amount of work. It does have to be done over the Orange Line. We are planning to do the work at night during non-service hours at this point. Now, there's a possibility we may need a weekend shutdown at some point, but for now, we're trying to do that work just in the off-service hours when Metro is not operating. And then the 495 interchange, very complex. Again, lots of loops and ramps that are being added to this interchange, but largely within the existing footprint. You can see the beginnings of a ramp there with the steel beams that have been placed. We will continue to have bridge beam lifts at this interchange ongoing through the fall. And again, this is an area where getting those beams up, it does often impact traffic. We implement detours and/or lane closures overnight. These are done in the overnight hours to minimize disruption to traffic. But if you're traveling anywhere in the 66 corridor, especially at night, I would really urge you to check before you go. We have been working with Waze and some other GPS groups to get our information out, and they've been very responsive. And so those are usually a pretty good resource if you're planning a trip in and around the 66 corridor. So if the next slide just shows you a number of places where you can get information, our project website for construction activities, lane closures, just a lot of information here. There's also project videos. I would note that we did have a meeting last night, a virtual meeting on the western end of the corridor in Fairfax County. So, and it went up through Fairfax County Parkway and to Waples Road. It included Route 50. And then tonight, we'll have a second meeting that will be on the eastern end of the corridor. Both of those meetings are being recorded and will be available like a day or two after the meeting. And you can certainly, the slide decks will be also up on the website. So similar to what I've presented here, but really more focused just on those two areas with more detailed upcoming imminent information about some of those traffic shifts, like at the Route 28 interchange and information like that. You can also sign up to get updates if you would like. So there's a way to do that on our website. And of course, we do have a construction hotline. If you see something out there, a pothole, something that looks like it needs to be addressed, please call that number. They do, if they're not actively answering, they do pick up messages, within 24 hours and are out there responding. So, please use that number if you see something that needs to be addressed. And then lastly, I'll just talk a little bit about, we are, providing transportation management during the construction. We have a number of programs that are trying to keep commuters moving and reduce the number of single occupant vehicles where we can. Now, we've had a year of very light traffic, which we have enjoyed. We've done a lot of work out there. And we did suspend some of the things that we had been doing, but we are starting to restart those now. So we have incentives for new carpoolers. We have supported Fairfax connector buses to the Vienna Metro. We've also done the half price fares on OmniRide. We do have an incentive for new van pools. So we're, continue to look for ways to keep as many vehicles off the road as we can. And then lastly, my safety message for the team is that if you're driving this corridor, of all places, do not be using a handheld cell phone. It is now a law in Virginia. And so just stay alert if you're driving in the corridor. And with that, I will close out and I'll be around for questions at the end.
Thank you so much, Susan. I'm going to bring Perrin's presentation up. Give me 1 second here. Okay. Oh, come on. Sorry, this bar is blocking the ability to hit the slideshow. Okay, here we go. All right, Perrin, over to you. Tell me when you
Great.
want me to advance.
Okay, thank you so much, Holly. Good morning,
Yep.
everybody. My name is Perrin Palestrant. I'm the Director of Operations and Planning with OmniRide. I oversee the Planning and Scheduling Department, our Customer Service Department, Quality Assurance, and I oversee our Operations and Maintenance Contractor. Next slide, please.
Oh, boy.
Uh-oh.
There we go.
Right, great. A little bit about who OmniRide is. We are the operating system for the Potomac and Rappahannock Transportation Commission, also known as PRTC. We do the mobility and transit services. We operate express and local bus services throughout the neighborhoods and the surrounding areas on the I-95 and I-66 corridors. And as Holly mentioned earlier, we promote the carpool and vanpool throughout Northern Virginia through our TDM programs. Our Board of Commissioners has 17 members. 13 are locally elected through Prince William County, Manassas City, Manassas Park, Stafford County, Spotsylvania, and the city of Fredericksburg. And then we also have appointed members from the state and DRPT as well. Each PRTC jurisdiction collects a motor fuels tax of 2.1%, and that assists the funding of our system. And the rest of our funding comes through a variety of sources, from passenger fares, as well as other federal, state, and local funding. And then PRTC also operates the Virginia Railway Express. That's the sister agency of us. Next slide, please. This is just a basic summary of our services. On the far right is our system map that shows the extent of where we serve. And on the left-hand side is a legend of the areas that we serve. On the western side, we have 5 commuter routes. We have 2 Metro Express routes to Tyson's, 3 local routes, and then we have 1 route that crosses the county between Manassas and Woodbridge. And then we offer complimentary paratransit service that overlaps the local service. On the eastern side, we have 10 commuter routes, and then also 2 from the Stafford County area. We have 1 Metro Express route that serves Woodbridge to Franconia, Springfield, 5 local routes, and then we have the cross-county bus connecting Woodbridge back to Manassas. Next slide, please. During COVID-19, just like everybody, we went through some significant challenges, but we prepared as much ahead of time as possible. The first thing was adjusting our services and providing that protective equipment for our frontline staff and those that had to work in the offices to ensure that everybody was safe. We had reduced service fairly significantly in April and May. And then in June of 2020, we slowly increased services. We went back to our Friday level of services that we operated pre-pandemic, and that was about 85 to 90% of what our overall commuter services were. We had temporarily suspended a couple of our routes due to really low ridership. Those were our 2 to Mark Center, 1 from Dale City, 1 from Lake Ridge, and then our Tyson's to Woodbridge service we had suspended. This past service change that just went into place in June 7th, we brought back a modified version of the Dale City to Mark Center route, which brought the route a little bit closer to the Lake Ridge area so people could, from that area, could still have some bus service. And then we brought back the Tysons to Woodbridge route with a modified routing in Tysons Corner. We took advantage of the downtime to analyze some of our routes and what made sense to still operate and what was low ridership. And so we condensed the routing in Tysons Corner, but we also ended up serving the Silver Line directly from Woodbridge, and then we served the offices on the north side of 123. We had a limited number of passengers that were on our bus. We had about 50% capacity. We were following the state guidelines and what the CDC was recommending. And then in mid-June, after the state was reopening and we were getting better guidance as far as how many people we could have on our vehicles, we actually opened up all of our seating. So we no longer have some of the overcrowding constraints that we were having prior to that, where we were having to put out additional resources once we got to past that 50% capacity. Now that we're up to 100% capacity, that's really given us a lot of room, and we haven't had any overcrowding since then. All passengers are still required to wear a mask on board the buses and inside any of our transit facilities. Outside, I believe you can not have your mask on. That the CDC has given guidance with that, but we're still following the TSA mask mandate that on the vehicle is still wearing the mask until we're given further notification. On our local buses, we have free fares still. And on our commuter buses, we have Smart Trip only. We don't allow any cash still. People pay with their Smart Trip cards. We've installed operator barriers on all of our local buses, which was 47 of them. And we have one that we're testing out on our commuter buses. It seems like we're getting really good feedback, so we're into the next phase to look at procuring the rest of the fleet with those as well. We added hand sanitizing dispensers to the entire fleet. And then when we did have the seating capacity restraints, we had strategic buses throughout the system to help us when we did have overcrowding. Next slide, please. We've been taking advantage of the various grant opportunities that have come our way, most notably Northern Virginia Transportation Commission's Commuter Choice Program. They had a second call for projects for the I-95, 395 corridor, and we had 5 bus grants and 2 for the van pool. We had increased, this is continuing operations of increased peak frequency on our services from Woodbridge to Springfield, increased local bus frequency along the Route 1 corridor, continued funding of additional trips that we were running from Dale City to the Roslyn-Boston corridor, and our Stafford services. Next slide. It also included van pool programs. I think that was on another slide that I cut from here, I apologize. But the great news is we got approved for all of them. So we are going to continue running all these. So it was great that the routes have been very successful even during the pandemic, and they scored very well, and they will be continuing in operation. We also had other grant opportunities. A TANF grant, which was applied through the state, gives us the ability to provide a commuter bus service vouchers for low-income residents. This is our first of its kind, so we're really excited about establishing this. In fact, Joe is going over to the folks that will be helping us administer this at the county this afternoon to give them the coupons and get the service going, get the program going. We also had a capital grant from DRPT to start looking at mobile ticketing as an option instead of just using the fare box. Next slide, please. Our brand new Western Maintenance Facility opened for business on June 7th. We're having an official ribbon cutting later in August, but we have it running for service with revenue buses coming out of there. It's a beautiful facility. 48 buses are stored over there right now. So about 1/3 of our fleet is there. It really cuts down on the amount of time that we were spending driving the buses from Woodbridge to the Gainesville, Manassas, Haymarket area just to begin the service, not to mention then the driving they had to do after that. So having all those buses out there really puts us in a great strategic ability for when the I-66 express lanes open to be ready for even more expansion. With only 48 buses there, we have plenty of room for more vehicles, and it's really exciting time for us. The facility is really beautiful, so we can't wait to have the ribbon cutting and have more people being able to come over and see our new house. Next slide, please. We just had our transit strategic plan updated about a year ago, and we're starting to implement some of those. In the short term, we are looking at our Eastern restructure to take place. We just did the Western restructure in 2019, so we're going to be pivoting to restructuring the Eastern side. So over the next year or two, we'll be doing a lot of work, kind of dusting off plans that we were working on prior to the pandemic. Now that we're through there and we have a clear picture of where we're going, we're able to refocus away from just trying to keep service functioning and keeping everybody safe. Now we're keeping the service functioning, keeping everybody safe, and adding on the Eastern local bus restructuring. And then we're going to continue analyzing everything on the Western side that we've been doing, and continuing our operations of our commuter choice funded services on both I-66 and the I-95 corridor. Next slide, please. In the midterm years, we'll be looking at transitioning our services over to a new garage that's going to be opening up near the Stonebridge Shopping Center off of Opitz Boulevard. That's going to allow us to do some realigning of our local buses and our commuter services and look at operating more efficiently through there, as we'll have 1,400 spaces. So we'll be adjusting some of our services to better serve that area. And with the direct connect ramp that's going to be opening up from Opitz Boulevard directly to I-95, that's going to give us a really quick access to and from that commuter garage. We're also looking at other services as it results to the I-66 Express Lane project, with more service on the Manassas Metro Express and the Linton Hall Metro Express, as well as possibly new commuter services, and maybe reintroducing our all-day bi-directional Manassas Metro Express service that was reduced when we had to make service reductions a few years ago. But with the I-66 Express lanes, it's a great opportunity to revisit that and look at having that route operating both directions all day from the Manassas area into the Tysons area. And then also other new commuter expresses potentially into the NOMA area, or even to where the Department of Homeland Security is opening up new facilities near the St. Elizabeth campus. Next slide, please. On our long-term plans, we're looking at possibly new services around the Manassas Innovation area. And a lot of these things could shift around in priorities. Even though we have this designated as a long-term plan, these are all flexible and it all moves around. So anything could happen at any time, but this is just giving us kind of that snapshot of how we envision things over the short term, the midterm, and the long term. But as innovation continues to develop, that offers us opportunities to connect in with our new Western hub near the Prince William County Courthouse into the innovation area as well. Next slide, please. Some of the other exciting things we're looking at, in addition to service, is how we actually operate the service. We did test out a double-decker bus in April of 2019, and we're still looking at that as a high capacity option. Rather than purchasing our standard commuter bus, we could have less vehicles on the road, but still carry more or the same amount of passengers and be able to reallocate our resources more effectively, operating more frequently in certain areas, and giving a neat new way for people to commute into the DC Pentagon area. When we did test out that bus, we got really great reviews from our passengers and staff, and it attracted a lot of media attention too, which was pretty fun. The last couple of weeks, we've had some electric buses visit us. We had the Proterra bus, which is shown here, visit us at our Woodbridge facility. And then our neighbors at Dash in Alexandria brought out their Proterra bus and their New Flyer bus out to us last week. So we got a chance to see the different kinds of vehicles that are out there. And that's what we'll be looking at as we commence our study for zero emissions vehicles later this year. And then we're also looking at micro-mobility with smaller vans where transit is still needed, but maybe not with your full-size bus, having it with vans that we operate that are branded with OmniRide logos, driven by OmniRide staff, but are easier to maneuver through the smaller neighborhoods and give more door-to-door access, or at least more neighborhood-to-neighborhood access without people having to go to the bus stop to get it. So there's a lot of different ways that we're looking at how we could do everything from large double deck buses to small vans. We're just looking at a whole encyclopedia of potential for us. Next slide, please. And then we're looking at the technology. We're looking at how can we better use technology to benefit us, from mobile ticketing, real-time passenger information, using technology for micro mobility. There's just a whole plethora of technology out there that's tied into transit and in a very user-friendly way to use it. So it's not so scary to just pick up your mobile phone and just order the bus or pay for your fares or find out where it is just on the palm of your hands, and then still making it accessible through your laptop or desktop for those that don't have a mobile phone. It's really all encompassing and finding numerous ways for people to be able to access transit, just much more than the old way of just having a big bus lumbering down the street going to a bus stop. This is going to be dynamic for us, and we'll be looking at new areas that we're not serving, current areas that we're serving, and how can we best do it. And through all these different methods, I think it's really going to be an exciting time for us the next couple of years. Our fiscal year starts tomorrow, so I consider that being New Year's. And it really is a new year. I just feel so excited and so positive about our community, and I can't wait for us to do all these neat things. Next slide. One of the things that we are doing that is similar to the microtransit is in Quantico. We had a challenge faced with us at the beginning of 2020, where the Quantico Marine Base significantly changed their security parameters to getting on the base. Our bus used to go in and out of there. It became really difficult for us to get there. So we came up with a partnership with Yellow Cab to run a shuttle from our existing bus stop in the town of Quantico, which is a civilian town. And at first we ran it just to the closest bus stop, and then people could take the bus from there up along the Route 1 corridor. But we reached out to the town to find out what was working, what wasn't. We had a great town hall with Supervisor Bailey, the mayor of Quantico, and the town residents. And through that, we expanded where that cab takes people. It now takes people not only to the bus stop if they want to do that, but it goes up to a lot of the retail facilities that are along the Route 1 corridor, the dollar store that's in the town of Dumfries, and the Walmart further up Route 1. So it gives people that opportunity to connect in with the shopping and medical that they need, and jobs, as well as then connectivity to our buses to get further along the corridor. County. So it's been a really successful program, and that's another example of that micro mobility that we're looking at, just all sorts of different ways to run our services. Next slide, please. And if you have any questions, this is our website, omniride.com, and then our phone number, 703-730-6664, takes you directly to our customer service department. And they're more than happy to give travel training, send schedules, help you do route planning. They're a great group of people. And I thank you very much for your time.
Okay. With that, I stopped that share, and I'm going to go in here. We don't have any questions in the chat yet. So if anyone has questions, feel free to put them in the chat, but also feel free to unmute yourself and ask your questions.
Hey, this is Delegate Rome. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Hey, so Perrin, thank you so much for all that information. I had spoken to Executive Director Schneider, I guess about a month or so ago, just talking about the changes to the Haymarket route, especially because for those who are unaware, the Haymarket route prior to COVID was actually like the most successful route in terms of ridership, and then it became one of the least successful after, during COVID. And so obviously, we're trying to figure out what to do. And, I know service has been cut in half for the summer months with the hope of bringing back a third line after Labor Day. And if ridership is strong on that, then bringing back full 4 lines service after that. I was just basically wondering what are, do we have any more updates to that? Or is there anything else about the Haymarket line that I should know about?
Yes, Delegate Rome, thank you so much for your question. We did cut the route in half, the number of trips, and we paired them up so at least they are if you take the first bus in the morning, it pairs up nicely with the first bus in the afternoon, and the same thing with the third bus in the morning pairs up with the third bus in the afternoon. Our goal is to bring those trips back in the fall, understanding that ridership is continuing to increase just across the board. It's still, we're only about a third of where we were overall compared to the pandemic, but compared to 5% and 10% back last year, we're making great strides, and we're seeing these ridership bumps happening. And I'm very confident that in the fall, we're going to continue to see this and look at adding these trips back, as well as looking at the rest of the community too, looking at making service more flexible with later morning, earlier afternoon trips. So yes, our ultimate goal is in the fall, bringing some more trips back into the Haymarket route, because it, like you said, it was very successful, and it was painful to watch it shrink. I understand why it shrunk, but I'm very confident that we're going to see it return back to its glory days.
Thank you.
All right, there is a question in the chat, and Susan, I think this one is for you. It's based on past road construction projects. Do you know how much added lanes, ramps, bridges, et cetera, affects the rate of car accidents? Are there typically increases or decreases?
We did do a safety study analysis as part of our traffic study, which was, several years ago, that actually looks at predictive, accident rates compare, if we didn't do the project versus if we did. And one of the things that causes accidents is congestion. And one of the things that our project is doing is alleviating and reducing the number of hours of congestion. That study did show that we anticipated, when you compared the no build versus the build, that there was a reduction in accident rates. But I know that study is posted on our website. I can get more detailed information if somebody wants it.
That would be great. And that's something we can post on the council's page so that people can access that after the fact. So thank you for that. We've got another question, Karen. I think this one might be for you. What are the running hours of operation for the OmniRide buses? Do you need more drivers with the changes from COVID? And how are you recruiting more drivers?
Oh yeah, that's a really great question as well. Our OmniRide services run varied spans of service. Our commuter service runs during your traditional commuter times from about 4:30 in the morning until about 9 in the morning. And then again, we have a couple of day trips. And then from about 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. is when we run the PM peak. Our Eastern local bus services run from roughly around 5:30 a.m. until about 10:30 p.m. And our Western side, we run from approximately 5:30 a.m. to about 7:30, 8 p.m. We've been really fortunate with our operators. While we have had turnover, we've been able to recruit enough to keep us going. Occasionally, it gets tight, but our partners at Keolis Transportation operate our service have an aggressive recruiting campaign, and we've been attending various seminars that are out there to help agencies recruit, whether it's wage compensation or through training and just through working through our resources. But we've been doing really well. I know there's a new class starting. It might have already started. There's 5 or 6 operators in there, so we still do have people that do need jobs and are still interested in driving the bus. So it's been good.
I will just add one thing to that, which is that also now we're operating service out of our Western facility, and that is opening the prospect of working for Keolis and OmniRide to a larger group of people, because in the past we tended to draw exclusively from the eastern side of the service area because people were reticent about driving from Western Prince William or Fauquier or something like that over to Woodbridge in order to begin their route for commuting purposes. But now you do have the possibility of being on a route that's run entirely out of the Western facility. So we're casting a wider net than we have been able to in the past. And so we hope to be able to continue to get great candidates from all over the place. And now that we have those 2 facilities.
Okay, I see another question. This is so great. Thanks, guys, for this lively discussion. I think I can take a stab at this one, actually, and then Joe and Perrin, if you all know more, feel free to add it. But the question is, I see advertising on your buses. Where do you find rates for advertising, and what is that process? I know that we use a third-party company for this, and I believe there's information on our website on this, but I will provide a link when I send out an email after this call. Later this afternoon, I'll send something out that provides links to the council page where you'll find the presentations and the recordings from today, and then I'll include information on or links to where you can find more information on the pricing for ad rates.
I have nothing to add to that. That's comprehensive.
Okay. I don't see any more questions in the chat, but does anyone have anything else they want to unmute and ask?
I will just very briefly say thank you to Delegate Rome for your comments there. And I hope just to kind of also call out, I know we also have Delegate Guzman from the 31st District, and also Supervisor Franklin, who is our board chair, and also the supervisor for the Woodbridge District on the line today. So I thank them for attending, and also for those folks who are participating in the call. Having elected officials like this on these calls is of critical importance. And so these are your opportunities to share with the people who do make decisions in your areas, things that that you are pinch points for you or concerns that you have. These council meetings that we have, they don't exist in a vacuum just for the 53 minutes that we've been having it. So if you have questions or feedback that you would like to provide outside of this, I know that we'll be disseminating the information afterwards, which has Holly's contact information in it, mine and Perrin's. We will make sure that any questions or concerns that anybody has gets to where it needs to go, and so we can get people the answers. And also, this is an iterative process. We are very thankful to have a translator available online today, and we're looking to expand how that operates as time goes by to improve access. So please, bear with us, continue to attend these things, and invite people that you think would be relevant to have at these meetings. As I said right at the beginning, they only continue to flourish as long as you guys continue to participate in them. I would thank you all again for that. So if you have any final questions or anything, please don't hesitate to ask them.
And then also wanted to follow up on that. If you don't have questions, but you have any information you'd like to share about topics you'd be interested in hearing about in the future, I would love to hear that. So feel free to share it now, or reply back to my email, and we'll do everything we can to make sure that the content is relevant. Okay, I don't see any other questions, and no one else is coming off mute. So Joe and I were talking about this yesterday. Everyone has 5 minutes of found time. Go enjoy, and thank you so much again for joining today's call. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.